Yes, what's happening, people? It's been a while since I've made a video. I'm deep in camp at the moment. I'm in my second week of training camp, getting ready for my fight on March the 12th for the Southern Area title at York Hall. I've got a guest with me today, a friend, Carl. He's here. He just wants to, as I said, it's a bit of a spin. He just wants to ask me questions about myself, my career, so on and so forth. Instead of me explaining what Carl does, I'll hand you over to him, and the man himself can explain what he does in boxing.
What's happening, mate? I hope you're well. Yeah, I just thought it'd be good because obviously you're building your fan base. You see that from your last fight, and when I messaged you earlier, I said, why don't we do something instead of you sitting in front of your camera telling people how your camp's going and I sparred him today? I ask you the questions that some people wouldn't put to you. You know me, I've got no filter, so I will ask you anything. And I'm not going into the streaming or media business, but I think this would be good, especially with your fight coming up. But me, I'm Carl, but I'm known as Boxingroyaltee in the boxing scene. I just make merchandise. That's literally it. So if you need anything, shout me. But my introduction is for another day because this is all about the punk kid. Right. I want to get straight into it from the start with you. Because obviously, I know I've seen interviews, obviously with Tom. Shout out to them. That you got into boxing by watching a fight that you didn't even want to watch. So what happened there?
Yeah, so it's quite funny because everyone that gets into boxing, normally their stories are just like, oh, I was getting bullied, I wanted to lose weight, wanted to learn how to defend myself, so on and so forth. But I always think that my story is quite, well, most people tell me it's different to how anyone else got into it. So as you said, that I didn't even really know who Ricky Hatton was. I definitely didn't know who Floyd Mayweather was at the time. And them two were fighting. I was in school, and we had obviously the MSM group chats back in the day. And my friends made a group chat about the fight, and they was all messaging saying, Jack, we want to come around to your house to watch the fight. And the reason they wanted to come around to my house was because my mother was the only one that would actually buy the pay-per-view. No one else would, because my mum's quite lenient like that, so they knew that she would buy it. And I was just a bit like, oh, guys, not really for me. I don't like boxing at all. Never been into it. I don't even think I'd enjoy it. So after about 5-10 minutes of them trying to persuade me, I was just like, do you know what? I'll get my mum to buy it. I don't have to watch the fight, but you guys can all come over and we can just have a good time regardless. And I don't know what it was, but as soon as Ricky Hatton made his ring walk, I was instantly hooked on it like that. And I couldn't take my eyes off of the screen and just literally fell in love with boxing from that moment on. I was 15 years old at the time. A couple months later, on my 16th birthday, I walked into Rice District Boxing Gym, and that is where my journey started.
That's crazy. But one thing with Ricky Hatton, his ring walk was always, he walked out, didn't he, to Man City's Blue Moon.
Yeah.
And I remember when Campbell started, what was that, last year, and he first walked out to that song, you see Ricky Hatton just stood there like in tears. And I can imagine that's just, but Ricky was, for not, obviously you don't need to describe what Floyd Mayweather was about because he's probably the greatest ever, or one of, if not the, for me. But so when you first walked into that gym, was you like, I'm going to go there and be a hand, or you just go in there and think, right, I'm going to learn and soak it all in and go with my own style from there?
Well, when you're young, I think when you're young, you tend to like idolize people and you want to kind of be like your heroes kind of thing. And so that's how I wanted to be. I wanted to obviously be like Ricky Hatton. And that's how like kind of started my amateur career, was just to come forward and fight and so on and so forth. Then as I got older, you kind of mature and you want to find your own style and you want to be your own person. And I went away from kind of like brawling and become more of like a boxer. But turned out, funny enough, that the style that suited me best was the Ricky Hatton style, to come forward and have a scrap. And that's, as a pro now, that's what I've reverted back to. So, that is kind of my style now.
Yeah, well, I can safely say from seeing you, what was it, November the 27th?
Yeah.
You don't just stand there. You towards the end of the fight, we'll talk about later, but yeah, you definitely you come forward. So, how long into starting boxing did you have like your first real spar?
It was the first day I walked into the gym. That was as soon as we were training, and I said to Terry and Derek, who are the coaches at Rice District, I said straight away, can I spar? and they was obviously shocked and was like, "Have you got a gum shield?" Expecting me to say no, and I was like, "Yeah, I've got a gum shield." And they was like, "Okay, then go for it." And yeah, I sparred straight away, and I've always been very, very game. Like even from a young age, like whatever I've done, I've always worn my heart on my sleeve and always put 100% into it. Like I'm the kind of person that if I play volleyball, I'll literally break my neck just so we can get a point on the scoreboard. And that's just the way I am. It's just the way I'm inclined. And, with boxing, it was never going to be any different.
But did you come away from that first like spar then and think, this is what I want to do? I love it. I love getting hit.
Oh yeah, like literally, I think it was literally like 2-3 weeks or something. I was on the phone to Susie Wong ordering a pair of shorts, like the same shorts that Ricky Hatton wore. Like I think my first 3 amateur fights, I had 3 different pairs of shorts, and they were all like Ricky Hatton style shorts. So like every time Ricky Hatton wore a pair of shorts, I would call Susie Wong up and be like, "Oh, can I get a new pair of shorts from? I see Ricky Hatton wearing these ones. Can I have these?" And so yeah, and that's how it all started. And I even had like obviously being young and not knowing about like copyright and all that, I asked her, could I get the same, the wings that Ricky Hatton has on his shorts? And she was like, "Oh, like I can't do that. That's copyright." I didn't know what the fuck copyright was at the time. And then she was like, "Oh, but I can like design you your own like wings and all that." So like I've got my own little like shield with wings designed on my shorts, so like the early ones that I had. But I think I had them on my first pro kit as well, the wings, but everyone was just like giving me shit, basically saying I copied Ricky Hatton. So then I just stopped putting them on my shorts.
They must have been expensive though, because how much are a pair of boxing shorts now from Susie Wong?
Oh, they're a lot. Like it all depends on kind of like what you get. Like some of my fight kits have been like 600 quid, and then some of them have been like 200, and so on and so forth. But I think like my last shorts were like 180, but that was just plain shorts, no logo, no t-shirts, like nothing. That was just the shorts were 180. But it all, as I said, it all depends like on the material and like whatever you get on them.
I suppose it all depends. Like a lot of people are based on like you base yourself, the punk kid, on a lot of image, didn't you? You know, when you come out in your denim jacket, Ebony Bridges sign in the back of it. I still can't believe I didn't know that until like 2 weeks ago. Because I remember you went and see her, but I didn't know that she had signed it for you.
Yeah.
But so when you you think back to like when you first turned professional, how long did you train before your trainer at the time said, "Right, we're going to put you in"?
It wasn't that long, like it was quite rushed, mainly because of me, because I'm quite impatient. And like I think I signed and I had a fight within like 4 months or something like that, and which is quite quick, like because I had only literally started training as a pro for 4 months. Normally people will be with a pro coach for like a year or maybe even more before they even think about turning over. But I was literally signed, turned over in the gym, and then 4 months later I was fighting. And that's just the way like I'm inclined. I'm very impatient, and I always just rush everything.
Did you? How many amateur fights did you have?
Only 10. If I can remember correctly, I think I had 3 or 4 when I was 16 to 17, and I stopped boxing, got back into it at 23, and then I had 7 amateurs in 1 year, and then I turned over as a pro at 24.
So when you're training, like the difference in training for a fight, when you're training for an amateur fight, obviously I know you're not going to spend 12 weeks preparing like you would, or 8 weeks as a professional.
Yeah.
But how long do you sort of get for a fight? Say, like, come to you and say, "Jack, you're fighting in an amateur fight on this date." How long before do they tell you?
Literally, sometimes in Ricep, you didn't get much notice at all. It would be like a week or something. Sometimes I'd walk in, I'd have a fight on a Saturday, and then I'd come in on the Monday, and then they'd be like, "You're fighting again, like this week." And that's just what amateurs like. Like you just can get fights whenever. Like it's just if someone calls up and you want to be on and they want you on their show, then that's it. You're fighting on their show.
Sounds like a journeyman in professional boxing,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
Hoochie's
been sat on the sofa on a Friday and been told that he needs to leave work and get down to the other side of the country to go and fight a 4-rounder.
Yeah,
he said he walked into a venue, put on some old hand wraps, and walked into the ring. Like he's not even warmed up. But Poochie's he's another. You and Poochie are pretty sure in the way you portray yourselves as well. I think like you both don't really care. You just say it as it is, have a laugh and a joke, and don't care what people think. But that's what is so good about you as well. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember the last fight, like I said about when you're in that last round and you're schooling the guy, Richard Comey. And then I'm standing there with Rod, and all of a sudden I see your tongue start hanging out, and I'm thinking, like, this guy can hit. What are you playing at? And then he caught you, and I just like that. Where does that come from? That side of things.
I don't know. It's just me being me in it. I just think it's just like the wild, wacky world of Jack. Just do like you get caught with a silly shot, and my retaliation is just to do something silly back. That's just me. Like the one thing that like is funny with me. The one thing in my career that I like really have such a strong belief in is my chin, and it's been tested on multiple occasions against much bigger people than me, in boxing, outside of boxing. And it's just one thing that I truly, truly believe in. And like, I very, very rarely ever get hurt or stunned with a shot. And then I know when people hit me with massive shots and they think, that must have hurt him. So then my retaliation is to obviously, just do something silly like, no, it didn't hurt, mate. Like think again.
And the worst thing about in that last fight is what that Comey was 4 weights above you.
Yeah, it was like 3 weights. Yeah,
I wouldn't have the balls to do that anyone half my weight at the minute, let alone doing 4 weights above me. But I suppose that's just the way you are, isn't it? But so when you obviously, it's not. I don't want to be negative, but obviously your first fight against that guy, what happened? What do you think went wrong, or did it go wrong? Was you not ready?
To be honest, like to this day, I still think I won the fight, but it is what it is. But it was definitely rushed. As I said, that's down to me. I was being young, being inexperienced, being immature, and not taking a fight when I wasn't. I took a fight when I wasn't ready to fight, basically, and that was it. Like as I said, I only had 10 amateur fights, and then 4 months training with a pro. I was in a ring fighting a seasoned pro that had like over 80 fights. Fair enough, his record wasn't great, but your record doesn't need to be great. It's all about your experience and how you know how to move around the ring, how to control pace, how to control distance, so on and so forth. And he was just much more seasoned at that than I was. Like, I mean, you take in like my 10 amateurs against his 80 odd professional fights, and he probably had amateurs on top of that. So you're looking at a guy that probably had over like 100 fights altogether, and I was just a complete novice, and that's just what it come down to. It just come to inexperience.
And how did you feel after the fight? Like, obviously, so going back, like the journeymans, like we were speaking about it last week, weren't we? And there's a lot of journeymans that could win a level title, like an English level title. Like you look at, like we said about Poochie earlier on, and I swear, isn't there a journeyman that's currently a Southern Area champion? We was talking about as well.
Yeah, at my weight class, he's the English champion, 2-time English champion, Craig Derbyshire.
That tells you everything. Records don't just be. Of course, we all know what journeymen are there to do, but if they're not just going to stand there and take pelter after pelter after pelter. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So how did it make you feel, though? Like I say, like when you come out of the ring and obviously you didn't get a decision, like you obviously was gutted. Did you just want to get straight back in the gym, or was it no, I'm done, time out?
I think like my instant reaction was probably just like, oh yeah, I don't know if this is for me anymore. But after a while, I've just coming straight back in the gym and getting a feel for it again. Like I definitely wanted to, right a wrong that was set, and things with me, like I'm just like, I have sort of a weird mentality. It's like if I know that I should be beating someone, and I know deep down that I'm better than someone, things like seriously eat away at me, and like it was like eating away at me for ages. Like, how did I let this guy beat me? I'm so much better. Like, and it ate away at me for ages. And like, I think I actually asked for that fight to be an instant rematch, but Steve doesn't really like giving instant rematches. He thinks which is right. Like when you lose, you need to go back to the drawing board, learn from your mistakes, take another fight against someone else, right your wrongs against someone else, to then go forward and then right the wrong in the first place against, the guy that beat you. So and that's what happened, and that's what I did.
I was going to say, yeah. So how many? Because I know obviously you went back and beat the guy. How many did you have before fighting? Was it literally one fight and then back in with him?
Yeah, so it's quite a funny story. Like one fight, and I fought someone that was like a guy called Georgie Georgiev, who was like known as a massive puncher. Like he knocked out Sam Cantwell, who was an undefeated prospect at the time, and then he fought my friend Rambo, and he got a draw with Rambo and dropped Rambo as well. And this guy hadn't had a fight for like over a year. Obviously, people were probably avoiding him because of his power.
Mm.
And that was the guy that they put me in against. And, there was a lot of whispers going around at the time, like, oh, I think Jack's career is done. I think this guy's going to end up knocking him out. And obviously, I beat him fairly easily. And then I think that's when kind of people started to take a bit more notice in like that I could actually box a little bit. And then I was meant to fight someone else after that. And I think it was like 4 days before the fight, the guy that I was meant to fight had pulled out over an injury or something. And then I said, Steve, I won Sergei Tasimov, which was the guy that beat me. And Steve got me to fight. And one of my trainers at the time didn't want me to take it. He was like, I don't think this is a good move. If you lose this, your career's over, like this, that, this, that. And I was just like, I don't care. That's the fight I want. And that's the fight I'm going to take. And obviously I ended up taking it. I ended up beating him as well.
It shows heart as well. Do you know what I mean? Like if it was like your 6th, 7th fight and you'd won the last 5 after losing to him, and you go, I want him now. But to just beat a guy that arguably not many people wanted to face anyway in your 2nd fight, and then say, I want to go back. It just shows your character again. Do you know what I mean? It shows that you don't really give a shit, and you've got to make sure that it's right before you move on. And that for me is the right way to go, because obviously I'm not a boxer. I won't ever be a boxer. But if to move on, I would have to clear that level. Do you know what I mean? Get past him so I can move forward.
Yeah.
So then, how was that 2nd fight with him? Was you, when you was in the ring, was you like, because you felt you won the 1st fight? Was it just make sure you do more this time, or was it just not thinking about that 1st fight and just going for it?
Yeah, it was kind of just not thinking about what happened before, and just trying to put on a more clinical performance. But from what I can remember, I actually think I did better the 1st time I fought him than the 2nd time, if I remember correctly. Like the 3rd time was like a real scrappy, messy, like shitty kind of fight, to be honest. Like, and but yeah, obviously I ended up coming away with the win. I've felt comfortable when I was in there. I mean, as I said, it was messy, but like, I felt like I was still doing enough to win the fight. And obviously, I did end up winning it. So, all's well that ends well, as they say.
So now you've had correct me if I'm wrong here, you're 8-2. Is that right?
Yeah,
or 7-2. 8-2. You're 7-2.
Yeah, 7-2.
Yeah.
7-2. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So taking away your last fight against Commie, what would you say is your best performance before that?
There's loads of performances that stand out for different reasons. Well, I say loads. I haven't had that many fights. There's 3 performances that like stand out for me, which was my 2nd fight against Georgie Georgiev, because there was a lot that I needed to prove, and my career was basically like on the line in that fight, and I think I proved a lot of people wrong. And then after that, it was probably, even though I lost, I think the Ricky Little fight was another one that a lot of people, like, I won a lot of people's respect because of my character and the way I'm inclined, and kind of like the way I look as well. I mean, I'm not a big guy. I'm short and skinny, so like people don't think that I've got a real like a big heart and I can take real punishment. And I showed a lot of people. And I remember after that fight, one of my friends that I've known since I've been a pro come up to me and he said, "Do you know what, mate? Like, he's like, even though you lost, he's like, I think you've just every fight I've seen you've got better and better and better." And he was like, one thing that I always kind of questioned was your heart. And he was like, after that, mate, he's like, I'll never question it again. He's like, you took some massive shots. You just kept, you just kept coming, like, you just never took a backward step. And he was like, I was so impressed. And that, so that's one that always kind of stands out for me, even though I lost. And then the last one was probably my fight just before, when I stepped up even more weights this time. I was fought at like super featherweight, but this was when I wasn't really even I wasn't enjoying boxing at the time, and I was kind of thinking about retiring. So like weight wasn't. I was just like, oh fuck it, I just fight at this weight. Like I just didn't really care. But I was training with Rob Lloyd Taylor at the time, and it was like the first time in my career when someone actually, kind of paid a lot of attention to me and wanted to work with me and so on. And I feel like I progressed a lot in that fight, and I feel like I showed like I could box again, and people was like, okay, like he's getting better and better, and he's improving, and he's got a new trainer and so on and so forth. So they were the three that stand like that really stand out for me.
I wasn't actually going to mention, I won't even say his name, but I wasn't going to mention him. But you brought him up, so it's all right. Our friend Richard, Ricky, whatever you want to call him. I call him something else, but I won't say that. Yeah. So let's go to November the 27th. Obviously, you had everything that had happened in that past year. Yeah, obviously, you'd quit your job. The fight had been called off. You get the phone call. And I think I remember you saying Kieran didn't want you to fight Comey, or wasn't happy with you fighting Comey. You say, I'm taking this fight. Let's train. So you had, if I remember rightly, it can't have been any more than 2 weeks from when they announced Comey to the fight.
Yeah.
So how does that change? Because obviously you've changed for roughly 5-6 weeks for that Southern area fight, and then all of a sudden you're fighting someone that's 4 weights above. What changes did you have to make in camp to do what you did?
Do you know what? To be fair, like they both kind of had quite a similar style, so there wasn't changes weren't too dramatic, like stylistically, but it was more that I had to be a bit more careful and more wary of my attacks, because obviously he was 3 weights bigger than me and he could punch like pretty hard. So that was the only thing that really needed to change. I think my defense needed to be tighter, and I just needed to be a bit more smarter with my attacks. If anything, as weird as it sounds, like training got easier because we were preparing for a hard 10-round fight. I mean, we still had a hard fight, but it was a hard 6-round fight. So where I was doing I was like training for a 10-round, and I was doing like 8 rounds on the bag, 4 rounds pads, and this that. I ended up doing less like on the pads and on that, because there was no need to get my lungs up to a certain like rate, because I wasn't going to be fighting for that long. So if anything, training actually got easier, as weird as that may sound. But yeah, that was all really changed for that fight.
It's crazy. I mean, I can't imagine doing 8 rounds on the bags. Obviously, I come down and watched you last week, and you did 4 rounds in the ring on the pads with Kieran, and then you did an extra round on the bag, didn't you? And I was stood there, and I was like stepping back with a camera, and you were like 3 meters away from me, and I was blowing out of my ass just watching you. So I can't imagine what 8 rounds on the bag is, and that's with a minute in between, obviously.
Yeah, a minute in between. Yeah.
Not a chance. There's no way. I mean, you could put £100,000 on the floor in the middle of the ring and say 4 rounds on the pads, 8 rounds on the bag, go, and I'd get to about 2 rounds on the pads. And I'd be taking shots off of the trainer with the pads as well, because I wouldn't be able to move. I'd be that tired. So the actual day then, so obviously York Hall was filled up. There was a lot of people there. It was a good little card. Obviously, yourself, there was Mark on the card, and there was another guy, Jack Owen, was it? He fought just before as well.
Yeah.
So it was packed out. Obviously, when I first got there, obviously I hadn't met you at this point, and we see Terry walking around with Mrs. Punkid, I think it was, on the back. Yeah. And I was with Rod, and we went over and said hello, and she said, "Oh, just look at the curtain. You'll keep seeing Jack look through the middle of the stage." So we kept looking. But what are you? So when you're backstage, having all that time out, how are you feeling? Waiting to go out there. What was it? Was you just ready, pumped, or was it a case of? Because I know you said to me, you don't need to be shaken in the change room and slapped with the pads to wake yourself up. You're more of a, I'm calm, I'm ready to go. Was it just a case of that?
Yeah, I'm very relaxed. Like literally, like how you see me now and how you've seen me in the gym and outside of boxing and so on. It's pretty much just how I am in the change rooms. I don't really, like, obviously everyone gets nervous. People that say they don't are lying, but I don't suffer from nerves that bad because I've been around, I've been around boxing a very long time now. I've been a pro for 6 years, and I was an amateur for like 2-3 years. So I've kind of, and I've also been around it. Like I've been in the change rooms for friends fights, and all that. So I'm kind of used to the whole atmosphere. So I don't really get nervous. Well, I get nervous, but not as bad as a lot of people
Scared,
do.
nervous, nothing.
Yeah. So I'm always very relaxed, and that I don't really believe in all like superstition and you need to hype yourself up for this and that. I as I said to you, I can be laughing all the way up into the ring, but then when the second the bell goes, in my head switches on, and I know it's game time. So yeah, like I don't believe in that. I need someone there to hype me up and, as you said, shake me about and try and get me going. I can get myself going when the bell goes.
So when you won that fight, there's pictures on Instagram. You fell to your knees. Was that not a yes? I actually beat him. It was a thank God.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because it was a hard time and a lot went on. Like I had two title fights pulled on me, got rearranged twice, and then it was just a hard couple months. It was a brutal camp, and it was like the first time coming back, like boxing was back, and and I felt like I kept not me personally, but it does feel like when a show gets pulled or you have to move, you do feel like you're letting people down because they're giving you their hard-earned money, even though they're getting it back. But people are kind of funny; they're like weirdly inclined in that kind of way. Where you give it back, they just think, oh, I can't be bothered to give him it again because it's just gonna get thrown back to me again, which I don't understand why that's a problem. But yeah, but so it was annoying, it was frustrating. Loads of other stuff was going on outside the ring, so it was just kind of like a moment of relief, like like finally, like it's all paid off, kind of thing,
You can move forwards now, and obviously moving forwards, you've got that shot that you 100% deserve. Obviously, you've got the Southern Area title. You versus Paul Roberts.
Yeah, that's the one.
On March the 12th. I should know this off by heart, but I don't. But obviously, like I say, I see you in training last week. It was your second week, and you said you stepped it up this week. How is that? Is it taken you good?
Yeah, Monday was pretty brutal. Tuesday was hard. Wednesday was brutal again. And Thursday today was the kind of like first chilled out day. Kieran was like, we've killed it for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So today, just come in. We still work hard, but obviously, just give your body kind of like a slight rest. And we're preparing again for another hard day tomorrow. And then Saturday is also going to be another hard day down at the track. So, but again, I'm kind of inclined to this stuff now. As I said, I've been doing this a long time. So, I'm more than, mentally ready for the hard training sessions that are coming my way.
So you're telling me last first Friday when I was at the gym with you was an easy session?
Well, it wasn't an easy session, but
no, that's a light session compared to what you've been doing now.
Yeah, it's getting harder.
Dear Lord, wow. I'll have to come in a sweatsuit next time because I'll be standing there watching you. But I must say, when obviously I'd never met Kieran before, but you can see the bond between the pair of you. Like you're always smiling at each other. It's like not like like you're good friends. You understand, you respect each other. You respect him as a trainer. He knows you can fight. And watching you on the pads in between, he's always tapping you on the back like, "Well done, Jack." Like, I'm not going to try his accent because he'll probably punch me very hard. But how good is it to have that bond with Kieran?
No, it's so good, mate. Like, I've had in the past, I've had really bad trainers that didn't have my best interests at heart and didn't look out for me. And because I was young, I was so naive, and like I let these people make me believe that they were my friends when obviously in hindsight they weren't my friends and they didn't have my best interest at heart. And then I've moved around. I've had a couple trainers. I think in 6 years I've had like 5 trainers. So I've been around loads of different trainers, and I feel like Kieran is the one that's like he's not just my trainer. He is actually my friend, like you said he is. Like he doesn't just. It's not like when I'm in the gym isn't the only time I speak to him. He calls me up on a regular basis, not even to talk about boxing, just to see like, how are you? How have you been? You know, when I'm outside of camp, he's like, I haven't seen you down the gym. Are you okay? How's things at home? Like, so on and so forth. So he cares about my well-being as well as my boxing career. And he would never put me in harm's way. Like with the Comey fight, like he didn't want me to take that. And in fact, really, if anything, he kind of begged me not to take that fight because he had my best interest at heart and he didn't want me to lose after, you know, all the hard work we put in and where I was in my career. And it's a real kind of like breath of fresh air that and it's not even really just Kieran, you know, the people that I'm surrounded with now all have my best interest at heart. Like even like Reza Ali, who's obviously my gym mate, but he's also my friend. Like all the time, like he'd be like to me, you know, if you ever need anything outside the ring, just all give me a call. You know, I'm here for you as your friend as well. And he tries to set me up, like he tries to put me in the direction for what to do with work because he cares about what I earn outside of boxing and so on and so forth. And then another guy down at when we was training at Club KO, the guy that owns Club KO, like Noel Tyranny, again, it's just another great guy who took a real liking to me and always cared about, you know, my best interest at heart again. And he was, you know, when I was telling him certain things in boxing, even though obviously he's a boxing man himself, so he knows these things, like he wasn't happy with certain, obviously I won't go too much into it, but he wasn't happy with certain things that were happening to me with my boxing. He, you know, he's always telling me like, this can't happen, it can't run this way. Whereas even though I slightly sometimes know myself that, but because I just kind of, for me, it's not really about money or anything. It's just about achieving a dream. I just don't really care. And in my head, I'm just like, well, I don't really care as long as I just get this. That's what I want. When here be like, no, it's not about just getting that. It's about other stuff. You need to be making this kind of money. You need to be doing this and that, so on and so forth. So it's just been really nice to have, for like once in my life, I feel like I'm surrounded by loads of people that really care about me and not just care about me and my life outside the ring, but also care about my boxing. And I think it's, you know, bringing me on and it's really elevated me to be around these kind of people.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everything you just said, like obviously I spent, what was we there, an hour and a half, maybe a bit longer than that. But every single person who walked past you, they all said hello, or you said hello to them. Do you know what I mean? And then, like you say, you've got a nice little stone owner with Razor Ali. He it's just, you couldn't ask for much more. Like you say, he wouldn't chuck you in the ring. I've known a few people in the past, not even professional amateurs, that just get thrown in. They kind of, I got knocked out in 40 seconds. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, why are you in there? Oh, I wasn't told really about the opponent. So to have him there and have your best interest, not just boxing wise, you know, some trainers, like you say, are just there for the money. And yeah, fight on March and you're going to fight AJ and you're a lightweight and you're going to fight a guy that's ridiculously big. You'll be all right. Don't worry about it. Think of the £10,000, and it's like, yeah, that'd be nice when I'm laying in a hospital bed. Do you know what I mean? And that is literally what, you know, you hear some people have said, like, I've gone into a fight and it's ridiculous. But as I said, you can definitely see the bond between yourself and Kieran.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I don't know boxing. You're probably better to answer it, but I don't suppose you see that in every relationship. You know, like it's similar, like in a way of, could you see yourself outside of the gym with Kieran? Like Kieran, you could go out for food with him, or you could go down the pub and watch the foot with him.
Yeah, 100%. That's why it's not. That's why it's just why it's nice. And like, you know, like a lot of people don't have that. As you said, a lot of people, it will just be like someone that doesn't care about them, and as long as they're getting a paycheck at the end of it, that's all they really care about. Like boxing's it's a very nasty sport, and people don't really realize that unless you're inside of it. And as I said, I have been for a long time, and I've seen some nasty things. I've heard some nasty things, and you know, it's just good, like for me, that I'm not with, you know, nasty people. I'm with people that generally do have my best interest at heart.
Like you say, that's all you can ask for, because you can do all the work in the ring, but if they're not looking after you outside it while you're getting ready, then you're only 50% there, you know.
Yeah.
So you've got how many weeks now? I always say it wrong. So how many weeks until the fight?
On Saturday, it'll be 6 weeks.
That's what, a month and a half, literally. And you're obviously, so do you spar up until the week before?
Yeah, a week before, yeah.
And then the last week is kind of just ticking over, isn't it?
Yeah, literally, like the last week of training, which sounds weird to a lot of people that ain't involved in it, you really don't do nothing. You're like, I think when I was getting ready for the Comey fight, I literally just came in, did 6 rounds shadow boxing and then went home. And that's what it's like. Like sometimes you just go in, you do a couple shadow, you do a couple on the pads, and then you go home. You just, because all the hard work's done and you don't need to risk injury or cuts or anything like that. And you need to let your body kind of like, from the brutal 7 weeks that it's just had, you need to let it heal and, you know, recover and all that. So you just tick over, you take it very easy, just watch what you eat, and then it's go time.
So are we going to be going back to the blonde hair for March?
I don't think so. I think I'm just going to stick with black this time.
What about if when you win, what am I going to be chucking down to the ring for you?
Oh, a couple cans of Monster would be nice.
Stone Cold Steve Austin style. We'll get the music. We'll sort that out, definitely. I've got to try and get them in first, but worst case, I'll bring them to you before and you can take them in your gym bag.
Yeah, exactly.
That would definitely go trending, wouldn't it? And that would, it's just something you would do yourself as well. Do you know what I mean? Because that's just your character. Standing on the corner and just smash two. That's my ring. And then you're on the floor looking it off the canvas. You're wasting the Monster. So what's the rest of the year look like for you? So obviously, say you go in, obviously we don't want to tempt fate and say you win. So you get that belt, in my opinion, when you get that belt, but you know, we won't. What happens after that? What's an ideal year look like for you?
Well, I would like to, as soon as I win the Southern area, I would really like to fight for a Commonwealth title. I know it's quite a big step up and maybe could be unrealistic, but that's really what I want. I feel like I've kind of like, when I say that to people, they're always like, do you not want the British? Do you not want this or that? But the thing is that it's kind of weird that I've kind of always felt the Commonwealth title has always been kind of drawn to me because when I first walked into State of Mind, they used to have the Commonwealth title above the ring, which was like John O'Donnell's belt. And so that was like kind of like the first pro title I ever see. And I used to come in obviously every day and I used to see the Commonwealth title. And then like I started meeting people throughout, like my friend Ash Lane, who was a really good friend. He's a really good friend of mine. He was obviously, when I met him, he was Commonwealth champion. And I feel like my whole career, everyone I've kind of always been around has always been a Commonwealth champion. There's always been a Commonwealth title hanging around somewhere, wherever I've been. So I've always felt that that title's kind of drawn to me. So it like where people always say like, oh, my dream is to be British champion, my dream's to be world champion, this, that. Like I'm probably one of the only people that you'll find is that his dream is to be the Commonwealth champion because that's the one that's drawn to me in a weird way.
So that's it. If you could pick up the Southern area in the Commonwealth come 2023, you'd be content with that.
Yeah, very content. To be honest, even if I just win the Southern area, like if I won the Southern area and then someone said to me, "Oh, you've got some kind of injury, you can never box again," like I could retire a very happy man for many reasons because you know no one really ever believed in me from the start anyway, and I was never meant to get past my debut after I lost it, let alone like this far and what I've achieved so far. So I mean, regardless of whatever happens, I've already proved everyone wrong. But without some kind of like legitimate title, because I've got a challenge belt, but it's not really looked at as a legitimate title. Like if you look on my box rec, it doesn't even come up on box rec that I fought for it. So it's not really looked at as as I said, like a legitimate title. So to get the Southern area title and just to say, you know, I actually won a legitimate title when no one gave me a chance in hell after my debut, you know, it's just a great thing to say for me.
You'll have to get another unit because you ain't got no room for that belt at the minute, have you?
Yeah, not at all, mate.
Terry on old what's that shop called? IKEA.
Yeah.
Well, she can put the unit together. I bet she's giving me a death stare.
She's upstairs. Funny, yeah.
Oh, okay. So look, obviously you're, like you say, you're 6 weeks out. Is there anything or anyone that you want to say your thank yous to, anything like that? Obviously you've got your training people, stuff like that, but whoever might watch this, it could be anyone you like.
Yeah, so obviously, as you just said, like obviously my team, you know, Kieran, Razor, all the hard work that they put in for me and all the hard work that I give them in return. Like, thank you for bringing the best out of me and thank you for being around and being so supportive of me. Then obviously my friend and sponsor, Forrest Son, who you're friends with, who you actually put me in contact with. You know, Rod's a really great guy. I said it in the last podcast, what I feel like he means to me and so on. Like, he's a great guy. My other friend that I met through Club KO, who come to my last fight, who took a real liking to me, who's sponsored me for this fight and is allowing me to, train full time. His name's Guy Davis. Like, he's been an absolute massive help, because he's given me, as I said, he's given me the chance to put everything into this title fight, so I can leave no stone unturned. Obviously, my girlfriend Terry, because she puts up with all my shit all the time. I mean, when I'm in training camp. And obviously, thanks to you, mate, because you obviously, you give me free merch. You've put me in contact with Rob, and you do a lot for me. You speak to me on a daily basis. Again, not just about boxing. So yeah, thanks to all them and yourself.
I don't need no thank you, mate. Like I said to you at the start, to be able to help, and I think I said when we first went on, people, especially like yourself and Mark, do you know what I mean? It's good for me. I don't make no money out of it. Obviously, most fighters I do. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, the jumpers and stuff, that all come, and I'll always do the social medias for you. That's not a problem. One thing I forgot to say about actually is, obviously, are you still working as well as training?
Well, and I've still got a job, but at the moment, no, I'm not working, because obviously
you're just training now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just training now, yeah, because Guy basically gave me enough money, which was his plan. He wanted me to train full time, so he basically covered 2 months of my wages just so I could train full time for this fight. Yeah.
But so before, obviously, what was your day like when you was working from morning to end?
It was quite brutal. Like, I'd get up at like 4 a.m. I'd go down to the yard. I'm a binman, so I used to go down. I'd go down to the yard. I'd be there at like 5:20. I'd wait to know what team I'm on. Then by 6 o'clock, I'd be out, like, on the bins. And it's quite, even though it's a very hard job, it's quite a privileged job, because you do finish quite early. Like, sometimes, like, my earliest finish was 9 o'clock, but on average, I'd probably work till like 12 to 1 o'clock. I'd get off. I'd literally get home, and I wouldn't even have time to do anything. I'd be out the door on the train. It's like an hour and a half to 2 hours for me to get to my gym. I'd then do like an hour to 2 hour session at the gym. Then I'd have to come back home, which again was like another hour and a half to 2 hour journey. I'd come home, I'd rest for a bit, I'd eat. And then if I run every other day, so if it's on a Monday, Wednesday, or a Friday, I'd be going down to the track, and I'd be doing anywhere between like 3 to 6 miles on the track. And then by the time I get home, it's pretty much time for bed. So, and that was like a daily routine for me.
Seeing that last week, obviously, what I met you at about, I think it was 1 o'clock, wasn't it? And you literally walked in from work, straight in, took your work clothes off, walked into the living room, put your gym clothes on, bag over shoulder, and out the door.
Yeah.
So to be able to train now must be like, you can wake up kind of when you want, probably play a bit of COD knowing you, crack open a few monsters, and then get on the train to the gym.
Yeah.
And you don't struggle with weight either, do you?
No, I've never really struggled with weight or nothing like that. Probably because I'm very disciplined, and I train very hard. So whatever I eat, I always kind of like burn it off. So I've never really struggled. Like, I've never really followed like a proper diet plan. I mean, I do, but I don't. Like, because one of my coaches always said to me, it's like, you can technically you can eat what you want, as long as you're willing to burn off what you've eaten. And that's kind of the thing, like, I've kind of stuck by. Like, obviously I eat very clean, but sometimes if I do want to have like a chocolate bar, or if I want to have a McDonald's or something, like, I will have it, but I'm just willing to burn it off either that day or the next day when I'm training. So yeah, like, I never really struggle.
Brutal, isn't it? Even then, I forgot to say, you come in from the gym. We got back from the gym, and you literally walked into the kitchen, microwave food, and then you sat down. Do you know what I mean? So you've literally gone from up at 4, work, train home, changed into the gym clothes, back on the train, probably the same train you've just got off as well. 2 hours to the gym, train for a couple of hours, 2 hours back, indoors, food, sit down, and then, like you say, you might have to go and get around the running track. So what? 6? You leave your house at 5. You must not be done for the day. 6, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Dear Lord. And I bet that first day after the fight, you wake up and you think, I ain't moving. I'm
Yeah.
done.
Pretty much, mate. Pretty much.
That's crazy. Well, look, I've asked everything I've got to ask. I think we've covered everything that people that want to know a bit more about you would see. Anything else from you?
I think that's all good, mate. Like, this is just more of something for you to ask me again. But like, I normally, because obviously people always talk about when you do interviews and stuff, they always like talk about boxing. But I always normally when I was doing interviews beforehand, I'd always say to people that have known me for a while, is there anything like not necessarily boxing wise that you want to ask me, because I am quite like a funky character and I do weird stuff and like there's a lot to me. So like I always ask them, is there anything that it could be whatever you want? Is there anything you want to ask me, like how I got into whatever, or why I do this, or why I do whatever I do? Is there anything you want to ask me?
Give us the greatest achievement outside of boxing that you've achieved.
Greatest achievement outside of boxing. I've done quite I haven't done quite a lot, but like I have like a lot of hobbies that I do. Like I sing and I can write songs, and which is obviously I've done my own music and I've got it down on SoundCloud, which is quite a nice, like, even though it's not really an achievement, but it was quite nice. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's one of my second biggest passion in life is music. So that was something that I really like. And obviously another one, which actually in my eyes is an achievement, like I always struggled in school and stuff because I used to, well, I still do, like I suffer from quite bad like dyslexia, and like I was always really like self-conscious about it, and when I always used to hate school because of it and so on and so forth. And I remember when I left school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I was always like big into animals, and someone like told me that I should go and do animal management, and like for years, like I put it off for years because I was so like self-conscious about my dyslexia. And then and I think when I was like 21, I actually ended up going to college, and like for like 2-3 years, and ended up getting like a level 2 in like animal management, and then got a job working with animals and so on, that was quite a nice, like I'd probably say that's probably my biggest achievement, because it was quite a big step in like my life direction.
I didn't even know you did that. So yeah, fair play to you. That's a good little. It's always good to have something like that on your back though. But I didn't know you could do animal management at college. To be fair.
Yeah. It's really interesting, like, because the college I went to was it was an animal based college, and it was like working in a farm. Like they had every animal you could think of, like even animals that I'd never seen. Like they had like massive like dragons. I don't even know what kind of dragon it was, but it was like some massive dragon that they had in there. And like, yeah, they had loads of reptiles. Like they had everything, like every farmyard animal you could think of. And like, yeah, I learned quite a lot, and it was a really good experience actually. I really
they teach you how to take pictures of dogs when they're laying on a bed.
Yeah, they did.
I wish I could put that picture up on this screen now. I was at work and I spat my coffee out looking at this picture. I won't describe what the picture was, but you can imagine. So, what's your favourite animal outside of a household pet?
I really, do you know what, one of my favourite animals is, because I have like a real well, a lot of people actually don't know this, but I have like a real fascination with the ocean. And I'm really big into like mystical creatures and like old kind of, what are they, like old sailor stories and stuff. And like when I get bored at night, sometimes I literally just Google and read up about like mystical creatures in the ocean and all that. So like one of my favorite animals is like you know a leopard seal. It's like one of my they're like one of my favorite animals. I just think they're just like amazing creatures. And yeah, obviously being my fascination with the ocean, they're right up there.
I don't mind like the sea, but I do get a bit like paranoid. Like when I went to Turkey before COVID, me and my girlfriend, we decided to go down to the beach. Like we both hate sand, And I cannot stand the feeling of it. Like I work in a builder's merchant, and like if a customer wants a bag of sand, I'm like, I call someone to pick that bag of sand up because I ain't touching it. There's no chance. Like it's honestly, I don't know. Like thinking about it now, it's making my teeth itch. But we went on this beach. It's called like the Blue Lagoon, and we both decided to go in this sea, and it was nice. And me being the div I am, she got out, and in the time she walked back to the shore, I've decided to swim further out. And every time I went under the water. And then she looked around and get back here, because I can swim quite well, luckily. I went out about 30 meters, but I don't like the sea. I'm not a fan, but I didn't know you like the ocean either. So that's two things I've learned about Jack just from doing this video there. So
yeah, man, I literally love it. Like I have from the ocean, I have like weird beliefs, and like, you know, it's one of them people that like if I actually spoke, they'd be like, oh, this guy's a weirdo. Like I believe like so much like weird stuff is in the sea, like. And I get like really fascinated with it. Like I still believe that, like, you know, there's like megalodons in the sea, and like I believe in like mermaids, but not like the mermaids that you're accustomed to on like the Disney Channel and stuff. Like I'd have to like probably show you what I mean when I say mermaids. And then there was one story that literally fascinates me so much. It's a true story, but they try and say that. Well, I'll get into it actually, and then I'll explain what I'm trying to say. But yeah, there was a boat in the middle of the sea, and they would record. I think they were recording sounds of like whales or dolphins or something. And then they picked up a sound that they didn't know what it was. And when they like looked into it, the only thing that could have possibly made the sound had to have been 3 times the size of a blue whale. And so like for me, being someone that's so fascinated, like there is something out there in the ocean that is 3 times the size of a blue whale, and that to me is just like incredible. And then like so they basically there's that theory out there, but they tried to say that it was like something like one of like the polar ice caps had fallen, and that's what created the sound. But I think that's just bullshit. I think they're trying to like cover something up that is out there that we don't know.
You should go and find out. Let's hire a submarine and see if we can do it.
Exactly.
We need to find someone that can drive it first, and then we'll spend a year at sea and see where it happened. Do you know where it was? Where was it?
No idea, but I mean, if you just type it in on like Google or YouTube, you'll find it straight away. Like it's cool. I think they've called it like the bloop or the blob or something like that.
We'll blob. We'll
I think it's the bloop they've called it.
Yeah. We'll have to find out where, get your fight away, and we'll hire it, and we'll go. We'll just take a year out of work, gap year, and find this thing.
Why not, mate? Why?
Although it would be quite scary. You imagine if it's 3 times the size of a bloody blue whale, we'd be
of course
over the place. So phobias. Have you got any phobias?
Yeah, like my biggest phobia is probably like spiders. I absolutely hate spiders, and I've been saying it for ages. So I want to get a tattoo here on my neck of like a black widow spider, because it's like my biggest phobia. So I don't know why, but I just want to get it tattooed there.
If there's a spider in your house,
I don't get
it.
You
go into your bathroom to have a shower, and there's this big old spider. What do you do?
I don't leave. It's funny, like I'm never the, like, obviously being the man, you're meant to be the one that gets it. I'm not, mate. Like every relationship I've been in, no way. I've never been touching spiders. Like I fucking hate them.
I can't shower until that's gone. 3 weeks later, still there. Yeah, I've got quite a funny phobia, and everyone always laughs when I say it, but I'm petrified of birds.
Really?
Like not like pigeons.
Yeah.
Like geese. I am so scared of geese.
Yeah.
It's like I used to work at Fort Park here, and just before you get to Fort Park, they've got this like, it's where the river is obviously, but they've got like this little seating area. And we used to go, and mate, there was like 60 geese, and I would not cross this bridge. And there was one time I braved it, I crossed it, and then geese would come to both sides of the bridge, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm in serious trouble here. And I start panicking. But I don't like spiders either. I don't think anyone likes spiders. Like obviously where I work as well, you move something and there's like a nest of them there, and I just put it back, and they're like, why haven't you done that, Carl? And I'm like, I haven't got time for it. But I looked at it like 3 hours before, and I just don't want to touch a spider.
Pain, mate, I feel the pain.
Talking about tattoos, how many have you got?
I've got nearly like 50 now on me.
You've had recently one done on your leg, haven't you?
Yeah, I got Strangers Like Me, which is a Phil Collins song that I relate to.
And you sang a Phil Collins song the other week, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what was the other one you sung? I can't remember.
Oh, sorry, Terry was just saying something. Yeah, no, the other one was the song from The Wedding Singer that Adam Sandler wrote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember when you first put, I was like, is he singing? And then also I was like, hang on a minute, you're actually quite good. I was like, you're quite good. You should definitely put more of them up. But football, your QPR?
Yeah, QPR. I'm not really like a massive football fan. I used to be when I was younger, but like I don't know, I don't really have the same enthusiasm for football. I think like there too much like went on with it, like rules changed and all that I didn't really like, and I just don't really like a lot of the way a lot of footballers play football when they roll around on the floor and all that. Like it's not something I'd ever choose to watch if it was on TV. Like I do go to games because I enjoy it. It's like a different feeling. Like when you go there, you're out, you're watching it, and you get the atmosphere and all that. Like, but I mean, again, I would only really probably ever go to like QPR games. But yeah, like, I'm not a massive football fan.
You did a thing, didn't you, on your last fight? When you give a ticket to a fan, you were trying to find him. What happened there?
Yeah. So obviously, I live in Ickenham now, and I was walking down Ickenham, and like some kid stopped me, and he was like, "Mate, are you that boxer?" And I was thinking like, "How the fuck does this guy know who I am?" Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah," and then he was like, "Oh, he's like, I follow you on Twitter. My name's such and such," and then and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I was like, that was such a nice feeling to be recognised. Then I got home and I forgot his name, and I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "What's his name?" So then I put it out online, and I think it got and then he reached 2,000 views or something in such a short space of time, and then obviously ended up finding the kid and gave him free tickets to my fight. So, yeah, it was quite a little cool QPR story.
And you had another little fan at your fight, didn't you? Another kid.
Oh yeah, it's yeah. Do you know what? It's quite. Oh mate, do you know what? There's some video of my fight, and it literally breaks my heart so much because I feel so bad. It was obviously that same kid. Like when I was walking out of the ring,
no, you didn't.
Yeah, there was people talking to me, and people were saying "Oh, you got to come and get your medical. You got to come and get your medical." And the little kid walked up to me like that with his fist bump, and I didn't even see him, and I just walked straight past him. And mate, every time I watch it, mate, it fucking breaks my heart because I just look at him and think that poor kid, man, he must have just thought I just walked straight past him and just didn't care that he was there. And then obviously I found this out when I went home, but obviously his mum pulled me to the side and was like, "My kid took such a liking to you, he was screaming your name, this, that." And obviously I met him, said hello, and got a photo with him and so on and so forth, which was obviously really nice. But mate, just watching that video, mate, it breaks my heart. He must have just thought this guy's such a dick. I want to give my hand to him to spud, and he just didn't even acknowledge me. But I generally didn't even see him because so many people were calling me and telling me to go here, there, and everywhere. I just didn't even know.
After the fight as well, you're climbing out the ring. Everyone, like I said, the atmosphere when you was fighting, do you know what I mean? It was so loud, and then you're getting out the ring, you've won the fight, you've been hit about 50 times or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how many it was. You finally out the ring, it must be a bit like, oh right, just get me back now. I want to get back to 5 minutes because it is quite quick. What's 6 rounds? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 minutes. Is that right? Yeah, 18 minutes plus the 6 in between. Half an hour ago, you're sat in the change room. Half hour later, you're the most popular man in Bethnal Green. Do you know what I mean? It must be like a bright turn of events. But do you think that kid will be at your next fight, the one that you got hold of?
I don't know, because I don't even know if he I don't think he wasn't there to support me. I don't think so. I don't know who he was there to support. Didn't catch his name. Didn't catch his mum's name. I don't even know if they caught my name or know who I am. So, but I mean,
what about the one that you said you saw in the street and you found him on Twitter?
What one was that? The one I saw in a treat.
Is this the same one we're thinking? We just spoke about him when he said he come
up.
Oh,
no, the QPR guy. Yeah, maybe. Hopefully he'll come. Hopefully he'll come down and maybe bring some fellow QPR fans. But I guess we won't find out until the night.
So how many are you hoping to sell?
Well, I sold nearly 100 for my last fight. I sold 95 for my last fight. So you know, obviously it's a title fight now, and you know, I put on a really good performance. So I'm hoping to do about the same number, or maybe hopefully even break the 100 ticket mark would be really nice. But we're waiting to see. You know, you never really know. Like sometimes you expect to do good, and you do kind of poor, and then sometimes you expect to do poor and you do really good, and then like and it all depends on timing as well. Like, you know, like because we've just had Christmas and New Year and stuff, people are kind of struggling, and like, you know, they can't really afford to pay the £45. Like sometimes you normally do better when you have a fight in like June and stuff like that, because you know everything's out the way, and you know people kind of found their feet again, and so on and so forth. So you know, you won't really know until the time comes around, to be honest.
It's crazy, don't it? You think that's 95 people have paid to come and watch you. Like that must make you feel like just, I don't know, like wow, like
Yeah,
because 45 quid, people saying like that's 50 quid. Do you know what I mean? Like although it doesn't seem a lot, like you wouldn't spend 50 quid on just a random day, would you? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it must be quite, you know. I mean, I've still got to get my ticket off you. I will definitely do that, of course. And I know obviously Rob's got some to get from you. I think his boy's coming to the fight as well.
yeah. He said
He's
he
son
was.
with him, so you'll have another little kid coming up to you and shaking your hand and whatnot.
Nice, mate. Nice.
But I think unless you've got anything else you want to speak about, I think we've done what we've done, an hour. I've just got to hope.
Yeah.
I know we're on a live, but I've just got to hope this records as well, because it says record only. If not, we'll.
It doesn't. We've just wasted an hour, but
Well, I've learned two things. So I know you're a fan of the ocean and you're shit scared of spiders. So guess what I'm chucking in the ring if you lose? Well, no, not when you lose, but I'm putting in your bag when you go to the fight.
well, I mean,
A
one
big
would
old
hope
spider.
the ocean.
It's going to be a big spider. You seen that trick? Did you see Liam Williams put it on his Instagram? It's like a box. And they slide the box open, this spider jumps out. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it now.
Oh, perfect. It's like £3. I'm going to do it. Well, actually, I don't know if that's a good idea, but I'll probably end up with a broken face, and with a nose like this, that can't happen anymore. No, mate, I think, yeah, I've enjoyed that. I learned a bit about you. You've managed to get a few things out for fight. Where can people get tickets?
Off of the link which is in my bio and my social medias, or you can message me directly and we can sort something out, and I can drop tickets over to you, or you can pick tickets up from me. So the two ways, obviously, just get it off the link or message me and we can sort it out.
100%. Well, mate, thank you for allowing me to come on your channel.
No worries, mate. Thank you for your time.
Not a problem. I've been sat indoors all day, so now I'm going to do the same tonight.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, we'll catch up soon, mate. All right?
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely.
Sweet, Jack. See you soon, mate.
Bye.
Bye-bye.